podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast, with the Maradona of the Midlands.
Hello and welcome to the first 1865 match report of 2026. A happy new year from me, the Maradona of the Midlands, and a happy new year to our roving reporter, George. Happy New Year, George.
Happy New Year, the Maradona. I'm happy about your positivity.
You don't sound very happy. And for good reason. George took the advice of the Pet Shop Boys and he went west today to Villa Park to watch another Forest defeat, their fourth in a row now, which leaves them sort of teetering precariously above the relegation zone. But one thing's gone right for us today. Wolves are beating West Ham. So how bleak must they be if Wolves have beat them? But anyway, that's the only sort of silver lining on the day so far. Going back to the Forest match, there were a couple of changes to the lineup today from the last match against Everton, with a surprise inclusion of Ola Aina at right back, making a welcome return there, and a first start for a long time for Bakwa in on the left wing for Callum Hudson-Odoi. What do you think, George, when you saw those two inclusions in the lineup? Did it give you a bit more hope for the afternoon's match?
Yeah, hello everyone. I think so, yeah. I was surprised Aina was thrown in straight away, to be honest. I thought they might try and manage his minutes, but if he's ready, I suppose it's easier to probably start a game and come off than come off the bench and get up to the intensity. So it's probably easier for him to start. And then I think everybody was surprised by Hudson-Odoi not playing. He's obviously not on the bench, and I've not heard anything about that, but that looks like that might be injury related. And then Dan Ndoye seems to be out of favour, which, I mean, the fact he's not on the bench is a bit of a joke, but he's done nothing to merit a start at the minute. So, yeah, no surprises with the team news, really. I thought Bakwa was a surprise inclusion, and I think his Premier League inexperience showed, to be honest. He was very poor marking his man, and actually, by the end of the half, he had to switch halves because Matty Cass was just having free reign of our right-hand side until Hutchinson came over. So not really much else Sean Dyche could have done with the team selection, apart from change the goalkeeper, which, as we'll get on to, I'm sure he will do in the next game.
Oof. Yes, well, it's funny you should mention that left-hand side for us. Because that's where the first chance of the game came for Villa today. It was only after a couple of minutes. And do you want to just talk us through what happened there, George?
Well, Forest won the ball back deep in their own half as always, and Villa were on them like a rash. Forest couldn't clear it and played themselves into trouble. They thought they cleared it with Nico in the box, but then rather than clearing it or putting it out of play, he attempts to clear it into the middle of the park. He's dispossessed, and the ball's played across. I think it's Rodgers that dispossesses him. It plays him across to Ollie Watkins. I think it's about 3 minutes in, and Watkins should have scored. It's a good save from Big John in goal, but that was a real warning sign from Forest. And it was an indication of what was going to happen in the match, because Aston Villa were just far more intense than Forest. And it's the game was a repeat of the last four games, really, to be honest. I mean, Forest was second best to everything. There's no fight. And of those four games that we spoke about, and you said, 4 consecutive defeats, the best performance was probably Manchester City. Yet we still lost that game, and I know it was 2-1, but I don't think City were concerned at all in that game. Villa were just strolling, particularly, I think when we scored our goal in the second half, it proved, because Villa had just got so comfortable and almost forgot we were playing, I think. So we got forward, we scored a really nicely worked goal, but then Villa just stepped it up, and I know it came from a mistake in the end, but even if it hadn't, I'm sure Villa would have ramped it up and scored a third. So it was another defeatist performance, and that in isolation, losing 3-1 at Villa Park is not awful, but it's the manner of the performance, and it's the fact that we've seen the exact same performance for 4 games in a row, and there's no sign of it getting better. The only positive thing, I guess, is the West Ham result, but that means that game on Tuesday night looks absolutely massive, and neither team will come into it with any confidence.
A bit depressed after hearing all that, George. But
I'm only just getting started, mate.
Okay, well, let's look at the first half in a bit more detail. For the first 15 or 20 minutes, I don't know about you, but I wasn't too unhappy with the performance. It was back to basics performance where we were happy to let Villa have the ball, and they weren't necessarily creating very much, were they?
No, we were just a bit passive, weren't we? And yeah, it was almost the Everton game in reverse, wasn't it? We took the mindset of what Everton did in terms of camp yourselves in your penalty area, don't let them have space. But Everton were far better at doing it than we were because Villa just had it a 30 yards out, would pass it from left to right, and they just wait until we made a mistake pressing or we gave one of their players a bit of space and they'd find a way to work it into the box. So, we did well. We got in the way of a lot of shots, or a lot of openings. I think the stats said they didn't have many shots, but the amount of times they entered our box or entered our final third and we managed to get something on it, which shows a positive sign that the lads are sort of digging in and trying to get it away from their goal. But I think there's got to be a balance between what we're doing, because Nuno came in, and that was a while ago, I know, but he found the balance straight away between defence and attack. And while we were still a defensive team, we still found a way to get players in the right positions going forward and create chances. And when we got rid of the ball, we actually had relief. Whereas every time we lost the ball, Villa were just so intense, they didn't let us out. Our wingers aren't physical at all, so they can't keep hold of the ball. And the ball was then lumped up to Jesus every 5 minutes and he'd run at it. And the referee was a bit of a joke, to be honest, because every time Jesus seemed to win a battle, it was a free kick to Villa. And we seem to always get Simon Hooper against Villa. I think it's the 4th time in 5 that he's refereed that game and he's not been brilliant. But I don't want to sit here blaming referees, to be honest, because that's annoyed me that Forest have taken that stance over the last few weeks. I just think they weren't physical enough. And yeah, Villa looked reasonably harmless attacking, but I said to Grandad at 40 minutes, Villa aren't concerned here. I think it felt like only a matter of time, and in the end, that's what happened.
Yeah, I think probably the most interesting thing during that first half was the Villa diving. I think whenever they went into the box, whenever they felt to touch, Morgan Rogers especially, just
on the Milenkovic one is ridiculous.
Yeah, it even led to Andy Hinchcliffe, who was co-comms on Sky Sports to say that Tom Daly would have been proud of him for that one.
And all Simon Hooper had to do is give one as a dive, but one of them, and that stopped. But because he just let it happen, it kept happening.
It did, yeah. But not a lot really happened. The commentators on TV were just sort of firing facts at us because it was.
There's nothing else.
There was not much action, but the lack of ball that Forest had and the lack of successful passes, we were breaking some unwanted records. I think that was the. At one point, Tielemans had more successful passes than the entire Forest team put together. Yeah. It was the highest number of passes for a Villa team since passes had been started to be recorded by the stats people. It was, I think, the highest number of passes in a half this season from a team by Villa. But their XG was a paltry, I think, 0.8 or something like that. But Forest was about 0.19. Forest did have the odd bit of relief. I think after about 20 minutes, it looked like the game plan was working, where they broke at speed. I think it was through Hutchinson and had an effort. And then shortly after, about halfway through, Villa probably looked at their most dangerous when Forest had a corner. And I'll let you describe it, George. It was absolutely painful to watch from a Forest perspective.
I absolutely lost my head at that, and I've been doing it for the past few weeks. This short corner nonsense is ridiculous. Why they're persisting with it, I do not know. And they did it because they watched Villa do it, and it worked. Because we camped every player in our penalty area. They then put 4 players on the edge of our box, and they could play it short, give another pass, get it in the box, and we're too slow to react, and it got in the ball. Forest try and do it, and it's absolutely pathetic. Why, against Everton, we put 52 crosses into the box against the 2 tallest centre-halves in the league, yet when we play Villa, an away game where we're not getting forward, where we need to just create something, we get a corner and we play it short and we play ourselves into trouble. And I think we should have conceded that. Obviously, it didn't end in a goal at the end, but Villa won the ball back, broke with such ease and confidence, and Forest managed to get a number of bodies back and sort it in the end. But it's just pathetic, that ridiculous short corner thing. And Sean Dyche is renowned for his set pieces. Why he's allowing us to do stupid things like that, it's doing my head in, because you put the ball in the mixer and you've got a chance. We did it the second time. I think we got 4 corners in the first half. The second time we got a corner from that side, we put it in the box and it dropped. And yeah, I think Villa cleared it, but it dropped. And if you keep doing that, it will drop in the right place and you'll get something. And we scored from a corner Was it last season? It was last season or the season before we scored from a corner in the first half against Villa. And it just proves, especially as an away team, with the game plan we have, they need to stop persisting with this short corner nonsense, because we are not those guys who are going to do Man City and play it short, pass it round, work an opening. We're a Sean Dyche team. We need to start playing to our strengths and do that. And the issue was, well, Nico Dominguez, who I think was our best player, by the way, and I think games like Everton don't suit Dominguez. He looks pretty poor because he's not that guy on the ball. But against Villa, he was brilliant. I thought he had one of his best games. He was our biggest attacking threat, which shows what things are going wrong. That chance that Hutchinson has comes from Dominguez harrying, winning the ball, then getting to another 50-50, then breaking forward, and he's never going to do a step over and beat someone for pace. But he found the ball out wide to Hutchinson, who cut inside and got the save from Martinez. But when Dominguez is your biggest threat, you've got something wrong. And when you're getting corners and doing stupid things like that, then we'd have deserved to concede from that.
Yeah. So, I equally find it frustrating that since Sean Dyche has come in, our set pieces, attacking wise, hasn't really improved at all, and it's a pity. But apart from that, it looked like the half was sort of going to taper towards a 0-0 draw at half time. The referee Simon Hooper only added an additional minute of injury time. I was just about to get up and make my half-time cup of tea when it all went a bit wrong, didn't it, George? We had a throw-in, this time on the right-hand side of the pitch, to which Backwell had now switched, because he switched with Amari Hutchinson about halfway through. And really, we were in control. It was our own throw-in, but it didn't work out well, did it?
No, we're just chasing the ball around the pitch like boys, second to it. Villa just get there first. They get 3 kicks ahead of us, and suddenly they're onto our back line. And we've considered that goal loads of times this season. I think back to Newcastle away, and there was one at Chelsea at home, I think, where we just let teams, we lose the ball sort of on the halfway line, and then within 3 passes, the ball's on the edge of our penalty area. It's a good finish from Watkins. I do wonder whether John could have done better. I know it's a fierce shot, but it's from outside the box and it's at his near post. I think he should have done better with that. I think he could have done better with the Garner goal against Everton. And the thing is, you look at that, you think, it's a tough one for the goalkeeper. But Premier League goalkeepers should be making saves that you're thinking, wow, how has he made that? John, albeit he's made some decent saves, I can't remember a save that I've thought, wow, what a save that John's made. He's just made sort of standard routine saves. That Watkins one earlier, what else could he have done? The ball comes into Watkins, he's not just going to stand on his line, he's going to have to sprawl him, and luckily he got something in the way. And the fact we keep conceding goals in and around half-time, and it's ridiculous. We've done it against Brighton, Everton away, Chelsea, Fulham, City, and today we've conceded either just before or just after half-time. Something needs to be done about that. Either we get to half-time, we've done so much well in the first half, and then we choke, or we come out second half after a very decent base and give a goal away. It's pathetic. And we must have thrown away most of the points, especially over the last month at that period. So Sean Dyche has got to sort it out, and sort it out fast, because it's pathetic.
Yeah. It's the old game management. And I think that sort of lack of control of the ball, the lack of possession, sort of costing us there as well.
And what made me laugh was, I was watching in the end, I was watching the camera guy, because the camera guy obviously stands the same side as the TV cameras, and he was waltzing along to get the sort of half-time tunnel shots. Then he turned and gets a shot of Ollie Watkins blasting it into the top corner, and then Watkins ran straight at him. So that camera guy deserves a raise, but Forest need to sort themselves out.
Okay, well, I'll put a recommendation to Sky for you there, But yeah, so it finished 1-0 at half-time. What could have been an encouraging half-time team talk from Sean Dyche turned into something more of a rescue job. We'll be back in just a second to talk about the second half.
The 1865 Match Report.
Every day at Sierra, you'll find top brand apparel, footwear, and gear for 20 to 60% less than department and specialty store prices. And during clearance time at Sierra, those incredible prices are 40 divided by 2.5, carry the 1, even lower. And when you shop clearance at Sierra, you can save a whole lot more on everything you need to get active and outside. That's a lot of saving. Epic brands, vast selection, teeny tiny prices. That's Sierra. Visit your local Sierra store today or shop online at sierra.com.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
And And welcome back to the 1865 match report, where we are looking back at Forest's 3-1 defeat at Villa Park this afternoon to Aston Villa. It finished 1-0 at half-time, as we said it before the break. And I'm sure Sean Dyche would have stressed the players that the game was not lost at this point, just to keep it calm, keep it steady, keep it at 1-0 for 15-20 minutes, and we can snip something from the game. But our wayward midfield had other ideas, and it was another sort of sloppy bit of possession from Bakwa, playing on the right-hand side again, that bottom right-hand corner, where he had the chance to clear it, find a Forest man, and did neither of those, gave it away. And George, what happened?
No, Villa just blitzed through us as they did for the entirety of the first half. It was the goal that we were threatening to concede for the whole of the first half. I did feel sorry for Bakwa because is it his first Premier League start? Maybe I think he started against Burnley, didn't he? But he's not had many. Certainly under Dyche is his first Premier League start, I think. And he's thrown in at the deep end away at Villa Park, somewhere Forest have done awfully since promotion. And, he was getting absolutely blitzed by Matty Cash on the right side. Hutchinson had to go across. And then, obviously, he goes across to the other side. We concede a goal because of his misposition for the first goal, other side of half-time. Then he switches back and we concede a goal because of him again. So there's not so much you can pin on him because he's not a defender. And as much as I really detest Dan and Doy, he is quite a bit better defensively than Bakwa proved. And in an away game at Villa Park, maybe that would have been a better suggestion. I'm not sure. But yeah, Villa it's just two-touch football that Forest can't handle. Everton scored a very similar goal against us for the first goal against Jimmy Garner. Nothing special. They just get the ball, they move it quicker than us. Our midfield's reacting, and they've got 3 or 4 players in space. And if you look at John McGinn, I think he was brilliant. I think he always has a good game against us, but he's always looking around him. When he gets the ball, he knows who's around him, what he's going to do with it. And the whole of the Villa team were doing that, and Forest were just reacting to that. They had no plan. And they just overloaded Forest, got it wide, ball into McGinn, blasts it in with his left foot. Really good finish. Milenkovic is second to it, as he's second to a lot recently. And then it's game over, and Forest concede before and after half-time. I know I said before the break we keep conceding for one of those occasions. Well, it happened on both occasions, and from there it just looked like game over, to be honest. I really couldn't see Forest getting anything from the game, and I don't think Sean Dyche had a plan either. I think he doesn't really have a plan A, and there's no plan B at all. We scored a very good goal, actually, which we'll come on to later on. But that was the only sort of flash of Forest being positive. So it's just so depressing at the minute. And
yeah.
I'm trying not to rant so much, but it is turning into a half-an-hour rant session.
Yeah, the sort of sad thing about it is that both goals, Milenkovic last season would have blocked both of them. He would have been on there.
Particularly that second one.
Yeah, like a ferret. He wouldn't have given the striker any chance to shoot. But he was just on his heels today for some reason, sort of looking jaded. But it's not just him; it's all of our players. They all look a bit off it. And you look at our players, and you look at the Villa team, and on paper we're not that bad. We're not in comparison. Yeah, I mean, Murillo, Morgan Gibbs-White, Elliot Anderson. They're all capable players with good technique who should be able to pass it to each other and retain possession. And you look at the Villa team, they've got players in there like Lindelof.
Yeah.
You wouldn't say he'd get into the Forest squad necessarily. And Buendia, great player in the Championship, but I don't think he's any great shakes at Premier League level. So they're not 1 to 11 at a brilliant team. But I don't know. I just don't know what's happened this season. Just obviously, the fatigue from the European footballs may be playing a part. I think it's watching just generally Premier League football during the Christmas period. Most of the matches have been terrible, and all the players have looked a bit tired. So maybe I've never been one for a Christmas break or a winter break, but I think maybe looking at the standard of football over the past week or so, it's maybe not such a bad idea just to give everybody a refresh. It's the same. Villa in the same situation. Looked a lot fresher. You had a point to make, George?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have a break from watching Forest at the minute, if I'm being completely honest. That'd be very good. But I was thinking, Murillo, by the end, he just looked so frustrated. And as Douglas Luiz did when he came on against Everton at half-time, and a lot of people were on Twitter going, why is Douglas Luiz here? He's rubbish, and all this, right? And I was found that quite confusing, because Luiz got the ball against Everton countless times, stood on the edge of the centre circle in the opposition half, and he looked up, and there's nobody to pass to, because both wingers and fullbacks are stood on the wings. Gibbs-White stood next to Jesus. Dominguez is Anderson's somewhere else. You know, they're not near each other. And Murillo, I think, with 10 minutes to go, just played a frustrated ball over the top that whacked one of the Villa players in the face, and they got the ball back. But every time he gets the ball, he's trying to be our playmaker, and he's done that so well. He's got no runners. He gets the ball from Williams every time when Williams is under pressure. He can either go back to the goalkeeper, who can boot it long, or he can boot it long himself. There's no runners, and Villa are determined, and not just one, but 2 and 3 to go and get the ball. And all they did was, they put 2 players on Elliot Anderson. They know he's the only real player with any confidence and ability on the ball. So once they limited Elliot to sort of one-touch football, we were lost. Because nobody else in the Forest shirt could come and get it off him, had the ability or the drive or the know-how to do it. And that's got to be a motivation thing as well. That's got to come from the top, because it's 4 games in a row where you cannot point to individual errors. I know we'll come to the third goal in a minute, that John made that mistake and Hutchinson gave the ball away. But you don't come away from that thinking, he's had a bad game or he's had a bad game. The whole team keep dropping clangers. And when that keeps happening, you cannot look at an individual. You have to look at the collective, and you have to look at the top. And I think Dyche is very slowly running out of time for me. I don't want to say it, he's a Nottingham lad. He's certainly better than Ange. But if things carry on like this, he is going to take us down.
We'll be on to our 4th manager of the season.
Yeah.
After 20 games. But
I'm going to do a rant about the board in a minute, so stay tuned for that, but we'll do that after the game.
Right. But I suppose we better mention the bright spot. It was a good goal from Morgan Gibbs-White around about the hour mark, wasn't it, George? I think a pass through from Backwell, but really more or less the only good thing he did during the match.
Yeah.
I think it was a good slided pass through and a cute finish from Morgan.
Yeah, really good finish. It's his 4th goal under Sean Dyche now. That's the one thing I'd say Dyche has done positively for Morgan, is that he's in goal-scoring positions a bit more. Jesus did well to leave him for the ball. But at that point in the game, Villa were sort of coasting along. They were allowing Forest to get on the ball. They were defending quite lazily, to be honest. They were just sort of defending with a high line, trying to defend man-to-man, and I think they'd just gone a bit flat, to be honest, and Forest just found a bit of space. Obviously, they're a Premier League side with Premier League quality players, we're told, so they're going to be able to create chances if they're given the opportunity. A really good ball from back where Jesus did well to leave it, and then Gibbs-White's got brilliant composure to go alone. He's got options in the middle. I think Hutchinson at the back post, but he definitely takes the right call. We've seen him do that finish as well before. And yeah, really nice goal from Forest. But yeah, I actually didn't really celebrate, to be honest. I sort of put my hand up and went, yeah, but I never thought we'd come back to that. And I know I'm being defeatist here, but there was nothing in that performance that suggested that goal could kick us on. Like last season, I said Jota Silva came off the bench and spearheaded us, and we got that goal back, and you thought, right, we're on to something here. I never really got that feeling when we went 2-1, because I just felt Villa will wake up now, they'll realise that we're actually on the pitch, and they'll step it up, and they did.
Yeah, I mean, we had a small sort of window, 5-10 minute window, where we could have sort of built some momentum and gone for it, but we never really had another chance after that. And it was, in fact, Aston Villa who scored their 3rd goal through quite calamitous circumstances. I don't know what happened there. It was a very odd goal. My young son was sitting there watching, thinking, what's he doing there? Talking about John Victor. I said, I don't know. And it's probably the most bizarre goal you'll see all season. Talk us through it, George.
It's just pathetic. I mean, Hutchinson gives away a loose ball in midfield, and he did that against Everton, and they scored from that. And, I don't want to get on his back too much, but you've got to be able to find a man from that position. And then, is it Luca Dean it goes to? And then he just sort of strides forward, strides over halfway. It goes to McGinn somehow, and then suddenly from, quite a promising position for Villa, but nothing threatening, John comes out and charges to him towards goal like an absolute maniac. And McGinn, he's just so cool. And like I said, he's scanning, he's looking around him. He'd have seen John coming before he even got the ball and knew exactly what he was going to do. There's no Forest players really around him either. So he just steps past the goalkeeper, sweeps it in. It's a brilliant curling finish into the back of the net from about, 35 yards? Top-class finish from John McGinn. The thing is, the confidence in the defence is probably why John's came out, because they don't look very confident, particularly Milenkovic. And you mentioned it earlier. Milenkovic, after winning Player of the Season last season, looks a shadow of himself this season. The amount that he leaves the ball when balls come over the top is ridiculous. And that's why I think we were exposed. I know Ange was here for a lot of it, but why we were exposed when Murillo wasn't there is because Murillo has done so much mopping up for Milenkovic this season. And not just Milenkovic, the back four. Murillo, the amount of times the ball drops and he sweeps it out of play, last-ditch tackles, because he's got the pace and he reads the game better than maybe anybody on the pitch. Murillo gets us out of so many jams. So that's why when Milenkovic was next to Morato and had to be the defender because Morato can't defend, then that's why we kept conceding goals, and spearheaded by Ange, who didn't know how to defend, and Milenkovic, and it was just a recipe for disaster. But yeah, it's just a shocking goal to concede. And then when he goes off the pitch crying, I mean, that's just pathetic. I'm sorry, what is he doing crying on the football field? The exact same thing happened last season when we had Carlos Miguel. I said that in the group chat, didn't I, against Exeter, where he had an absolute clanger. He goes down with some sort of injury, and then Matt Sells comes on to save the day. Well, it's just pathetic going down like that. And whether he was told to do it or not, I'm not sure. But I think it's safe to say that'll be the end of John, certainly as our number one, and maybe in a Forest shirt if Angus Gunn comes onto the bench instead of him, because you can't excuse that. And I think a lot of Forest fans were surprised that Matt Sells didn't come straight back in. Maybe Fulham, back on the bench for a match, but long term, as much as Sells hasn't had the best season, he still won the Golden Glove last season. He still makes exceptional saves, and with Aina coming back as well and Sells coming back in, you sort of think that back five from last season that served us very well, you're hoping that them combining for the first real time this season is the start of some more defensive solidity, because it can't go on like this.
Yeah. It was bizarre scenes indeed. He was making out that he'd hurt his knee, but when you looked at it in real time, and even the replays, you couldn't see anywhere where he sort of jarred his knee or anything. He managed to get up initially. I think he just lost his head. He just his spirit was gone. I think it was the first time a player's ever had to be substituted for having a broken heart. I think he's gone. I think he's got hopes of being in the Brazil squad for the World Cup. And
good luck with that.
And I think just he's been
nominated for that Yashin trophy, wasn't he, somehow?
Yeah, so he's it's a shame though. He's a shame. He's done all right since he's been in the last few games, but from the shaky start he had when he first came in for the European games, and he was making some basic errors, and he's looked like a steady enough keeper. But as you said, George, I think it's time for Matt Sells to come back in. Anyway, not a lot more happened. The game was more or less dead and buried. Forest made a couple of substitutions with McAtee and Caliamendo coming on for short cameos near the end. Didn't really do much, to be honest. McAtee's the only sort of notable thing. He did quite a bad foul on one of the Villa players and got a yellow card. At least he's done something in a Forest shirt now.
That's exactly what I said. That's the only thing he's done since he's put on a Forest shirt.
And in the end, it finished comfortably to Villa. Aston Villa 3, Nottingham Forest 1. We're just going to pick up a view from the opposition now, from the Aston Villa podcast, For the Love of Paul McGrath. And it is Neil from that very fine podcast giving us his view.
Coming to Villa Park is a tough job any day of the week, but I think Villa really exerted their pressure early on. I can't remember what the possession statistics were, but like 70-something%. And, Villa crafted out chances even as early as the second minute, where Ollie Watkins had that chance. It was brilliantly saved by John Victor, who went on to make a catastrophic error later on in the game. But, Villa had to rely on big chances, or on not big chances, should I say, while they had the lion's share of possession. the goal that really broke Forest's hearts, I suppose, really just on half-time was that cracker from Watkins from outside the box. Just a swing at it, and it just flew in. People may say that John Victor should have saved it, but, you know, at the end of the day, it was an absolute howitzer that was struck from outside the box. And that's something Villa have been doing this year. Absolutely something that Villa have been doing this year. But it changes Unai Emery's team talk at half-time. And then Villa's goal, then second goal comes in the 48th minute, just after half-time. And I think that was the crusher for Forest. But Forest come back into it through the goal from Gibbs-White. And then John Victor goes absolutely AWOL, pulls his calf or whatever it was, and John McGinn slots one in from distance after John Victor comes running out. And to be honest, I suppose really it was a 3-1 game to Aston Villa, but Forest should be nowhere near where they are in the league. I'm always very complimentary of Forest. I like them as a team. Anybody who's listened to me give my synopsis on Forest games on the podcast will know that I'm very, very fond of Forest. I want them to be progressing in the league. I wanted you guys to progress from where you did last year, just be one place behind Aston Villa. But, you know, 17th in the league or 16th, wherever you guys are, that's not where you guys should be. You're a conglomerate of really, really good players. And there are some really good players in that team that should be higher than you guys are. Today it didn't work. Lots of teams will come to Villa Park, and this isn't me being patronising, but lots of teams who have come to Villa Park and have been frustrated, and lots of teams will come in the future again and be frustrated. But Forest are a very good team. And we'll see this out, and we'll climb this league. And I expect Forest to finish mid-table at the end of this year. You know, based on today's performance, I think the 3-1 was a fair result. But yeah, as I say, Aston Villa are now temporarily second in the league. We're riding high, and I hope you guys get out of it as well, because proper football club, proper city, and just literally proper fans, real tradition and the whole lot. And I wish you guys all the best. So thank you so much, Rich and the guys, for asking me to come on the podcast. And I hope you guys do much, much better as the season goes on.
The 1865 Match Report.
Good morning, Crust. It's a great day to be a bread brother.
Ugh, mornings are not my jam. Or jelly.
Oh, come on. Stop loafing around.
I just woke up feeling hollow inside.
Psst, just grab one of the new Morning Uncrustables sandwiches, like Bright-Eyed Berry or Up and Apple, filled with 12 grams of protein and tons of deliciousness. Crust, what are you eating?
It's just granola, not even yogurt.
No crust, no fuss. Uncrust your mornings.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
Thank you to Neil there from the Love of Paul McGrath podcast there. He was very complimentary, a bit of fruity language there, but also very complimentary about Forest. He said, "We are a good team, George, but I'll put down some stark facts for you. We've lost 12 out of our 20 matches this season. We've only won 5. And in the last 8 matches since the end of last season, we only won 2 out of the last 8 there as well. You could say after the victory against Manchester United on the 1st of April 2025, we've been pretty ropey, haven't we, George? Are we a good team? Do we have good players? I'm confused now, because I thought we did, and it just needed a bit of organisation, a bit of back to basics from Sean Dyche to get us firing again. But it looks like it's all going wrong again. What do we need to do?
I just don't know how we can go away to Liverpool, win 3-0, and then just completely fall off a cliff and regress from that moment. And they were picked up a win against Tottenham sort of since that. But you think about that Tottenham game, Sangare has left, and it's like everything we've done up to that point has gone out the window because we've lost one player. And Sangare, you know, it's difficult because the 2 replacements are Dominguez or Luiz, because Yates is injured. And Sangare is sort of the middle ground between them both. And the other 2 are completely polar opposites. So, yes, it's hard to replace him, but we shouldn't have lost one player and be this bad. And I blame where we are this season completely on the boardroom, on Edu and on Marinakis. And I really love what Marinakis has done for our football club. We would not be certainly in Europe. I think we'd be in the Premier League because Steve Cooper takes credit for that, but it would not be in Europe without Evangelos Marinakis. But he and the people in the boardroom have chosen Edu over Nuno. They've ruptured the good relations that we had there over Edu. And what Edu has served up has been a pile of nonsense. We replaced Nuno, obviously with Edu at the heart of that, with Ange. That was an absolute joke of a decision. And I saw that coming. I went on Sky and said I wasn't a fan of it, but I'll get behind it. But I really couldn't see it working. We then replaced him with Dyche, who is slightly better. He fits our values a lot more, but he's still got his limitations, and I think we're seeing his ceiling already, to be honest. And the players we've got at our disposal are an absolute joke. I mentioned Villa last season, and we were 1-0, we're 2-0 down at half-time, and Jota Silva comes off the bench and makes an impact, almost single-handedly on with Anderson, gets us a point, almost. Jota Silva is one of the worst technical footballers I've ever seen for Forest. Yet I would much rather him come off the bench than anybody we've brought off the bench over the last few weeks. That's harsh on Savona, who came off for Aina, and I discard that. But apart from that, all the attacking players that have come off the bench are an absolute joke. How we've spent 65 million on Ndoye, Hutchinson and Bakwa, one of whom can't even get on the bench at the minute, the other who's sort of slowly coming into it, and Bakwa, who looks like a rabbit in the headlights, but yes, he's new to the league and is just getting to the speed of it, is a joke. So if we go down, then I blame Edu and the board entirely for it, because they've ruptured everything for Edu, and he has served up a pile of absolute poo. And you look at Arsenal, where he's left. Arsenal, yes, they've been building it for the last sort of 5 years, but they look far stronger without him. Zubimendi, Gyökeres, Madueke, who they brought in, you know, some of the Zubimendi, they look brilliant compared to last season. They look far better in all regards now he's left. So for them to choose Edu over Nuno, he's looking like an absolute joke. And yes, I say it with a lot of hindsight, and it's easy to look now and say that, but it's a ridiculous decision. And I also think that the game against West Ham is massive. Obviously, it's easy to say because both teams are teetered on the edge of relegation and stuff like that. But West Ham have lost 3-0 at Wolves. If we lose there, then I think Dyche will and has to go. I don't know who they're going to look at, but Dyche just has no idea. It doesn't look like he's got a new idea to try and revitalise that. And if we can't go to West Ham and win, then I really struggle to see how he's going to turn it around. And obviously, I think if we beat West Ham have gone off the back of losing 3-0 to Wolves and losing to us, I think Nuno will go. So I think whoever loses that is looking very dangerously at their job. But I really can't. I really hope it turns around, but I just can't see it. And Forest, if they're going to back Dyche, they've got to get rid of all the tripe that he's not using, because I think it's harsh on Callum Wendo. He's a number 9. He scored 2 goals in the Europa League from positions where we need a striker. And he didn't today, but he keeps bringing on Taiwo, who looks like he's won a competition to play football. So I really hope they sort it out in January, and they need to. And they need to start that by beating West Ham, because otherwise the spiral is going to end in the Championship.
Ooh. Wow. Okay. Well, thanks for that, George. I hope we do turn it around against West Ham. I guess as long as we don't lose, it stops the rot, and we've got a base to build on. And hopefully we can refresh the squad in January, get some of the players who aren't playing out, and get some new fresh ones in. But thank you for listening to the 1865 Match Report. I have been the Maradona of the Midlands with George Edwards, and we hope to catch you again after the West Ham game with hopefully some more positive news. Thank you for listening.
You've been listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast. Follow us on X, Insta, TikTok, Threads and Blue Sky, and listen via Apple, Spotify and YouTube. All the links are available at 1865.football.
We hope that you choke, that you choke.
Come on, there's no pressure. We're all friends over here. We're all friends.